This is my husband, Jim, and he's gonna do my presentation for me.
Hello, this is Kelly Tellerico's senior presentation. It's on child development. There are stages of child development according to Jean Piaget. Infants and babies, toddlers and preschoolers, school age, and then adolescent or teenager. There are cognitive stages of development according to Piaget. Sensoromotor, which is birth to age 2, object permanence. Pre-operational ages, which would be 2 to 7. Children think about things figuratively. Concrete operational, which would be ages 7 to 11. Rational thinking and thought. And then former operational, which would be 11 plus, and then adolescence and adulthood. And that is that people have the ability to think about ideas, but not having a physical or concrete existence, and rationally experiment with a supposition or proposed explanation made of the basis of limited evidence as a starting for further investigation. There are 3 fundamental elements to Piaget's cognitive theory, and he describes the building blocks of knowledge known as schemas. And Piaget defined a schema as a cohesive, repeatable action sequence possessing component actions that are tightly interconnected and governed by a core meaning. The 3 fundamental elements to Piaget's cognitive theory are: 1, assimilation, which is using an existing schema to deal with a new object or situation. Secondly, accommodation. This happens when the existing schema, knowledge, does not work and needs to be changed to deal with a new object or situation. And then thirdly, equilibration. This is the force which moves development along. Lev Vygotsky, his theories, they stress the fundamental role of social interaction in the development of cognition, as he believes strongly that community plays a central role in the process of making meaning. In other words, social learning tends to precede development. Lev Vygotsky's refers to elementary mental functions as attention, sensation, perception, and memory. Vygotsky's he goes on, he talks about the more knowledgeable other, known as MKO. It alludes to someone who has a higher quality of comprehension or an elevated capacity position than the trainee regarding a specific undertaking, procedure, and idea. The more knowledgeable other is a parent or adult. Then he talks about the zone of proximal development, abilities too hard for a child to master on his or her own, but that can be done with advice and support from a well-informed person. The zone of proximal development is the area where the most thoughtful teaching information should be given so that the child can grow in high-level cognitive tasks. Vygotsky's 3 forms of speech: social speech, which is external communication used to talk to others. That would be age 2. Private speech. A child at age 3 begins this, which is controlled by the self and assists cognitive purpose. Private speech goes underground. Eventually, private speech goes into seclusion, decreasing in audibleness as it takes on a self-starting function and is converted into noiseless internal speech. And this happens from age 7 on. Now, psychologists that contributed to child development. There's Freud's psychosexual theory. That's child development occurs in a series of stages focused on different areas of the body. There's Erikson's theory of psychosocial development. Erikson believed that social interaction and experience played decisive roles. His theory focuses on development across the entire lifespan. Behaviorists John B. Watson, Ivan Pavlov, and B.F. Skinner insisted that learning occurs purely through processes of association and reinforcement. Bowlby believed that early relationships with caregivers play a major role in child development and continue to influence social relationships throughout life. Bowlby's attachment theory suggested that children are born with an innate need to form attachments. Then there's Albert Bandura's social learning theory. Well, behaviors can also be learned through observation and modeling. Brings us now to play and the importance of play. Play is the main way of how children learn. Play is to engage in an activity for enjoyment and recreation rather than serious or practical purposes. Developmentally, it supplies an occasion for young children to produce basic competencies. Play helps children use their inventiveness, imagination, and adroitness. Play provides children with social skills, provides occasions to interact with peers, cognition, imagine, and problem solve. Education lay the infrastructure for learning to write and read. Play is the highest expression of human development in childhood, for it alone is the free expression of what is in a child's soul. Then there's technology in play. Technology encourages entertainment, and narcissistic behavior no longer advances free play. Technology can interfere with the time a child spends observing and imitating, a likely reason for the speech delays. In 2014, a study from the Center for Disease Control, CDC, Human Services found only 5 states requiring daily recess for elementary schools. Only 21% of American youth meet the current guidelines of 60 minutes or more of physical activity each day. What children learn through play, George Morrison outlines, and he outlines 6 key developmental areas that camp-aged can experience through the parameters of play. There's, first of all, learning concepts. Secondly, developing social skills. Thirdly, developing physical skills. Fourthly, practice language skills. Number 5, enhance self-esteem. And number 6, master life situations and prepare for adult life. And lastly, I want to provide a picture or a photo of Jean Piaget and Lev Vygotsky. That concludes Kelly's senior presentation.